Let's come to Babajide Ogunsanwo for more on those data that you were giving us earlier. Where do we go from here?
It's interesting times, Ayo. I tell you, it's going to be easier for you to lick your elbow than for you to predict what will start happening from 6 p.m. But what we want to look at this moment is where the magic will happen. There are two zones that have the most collected PVCs. These two zones are also the zones that have the new first-time voters. The Southwest, currently 15 million PVCs in the Southwest. However, 2.7 million of those PVCs in the Southwest are new voters. Let's look at the Northwest. From INEC's results, 21 million PVCs in the Northwest. But how many of these are first-time voters? 3.2 million. In other words, we're going to be seeing the Southwest and the Northwest playing the biggest role in this election. So I want us to look at the trends of what happened in the Southwest in last presidential election and the Northwest. Starting with the Southwest. As at this moment, yes, 6.2 million PVCs in Lagos. We are waiting for the voter turnout to find out how many of those 6.2 million people voted across Lagos's 13,322 polling units. But the big numbers from Lagos are expected from Lagos West. That is where you have Badagry, Ojo, Alimosho, Agege. So we're expecting, once those numbers from Lagos West starts coming out, it will shape who will win in Lagos. But let's look at the trend. 2011, what happened in Lagos? It went the way to all one party apart from Ibejuleki. PDP then scored 1.2 million votes. Look at what happened in Lagos in 2015. We see the trends have started changing. The PDP was still able to hold on to Ojo, Ajeromi, Amuwo, but in all, the APC won in Lagos in 2015. What happened in 2019? Almost similar patterns. Ojo, Ajeromi, Etiosa went to one party. However, the other party, the APC, still had majority. Over 580,000 people voted for the APC in 2019. In all, if we look at the current situation in Lagos, our attention is going to be focusing on the results that come out from Lagos West. Lagos East and Central are also important zones. Another state in the Southwest, Ogun. Let's look at what happened, the situation in Ogun at the moment.
There we have it, 2.2, almost 2.3 million.
PVCs, the important number is the turnout. We're expecting big numbers to come from Ogun Central, where you have most of those that have collected their PVCs, and that is where you have most of Ogun's 5,042 polling units. What does history say about Ogun in 2011? We see it going the way to all one party, apart from that local government. What happened in 2015? We see Ogun. We see more competition. Imeko still goes to PDP, but we see PDP taking more states. In all, what happened in 2019 in Ogun? We clearly see that there's still a lot of PDP, APC. But don't forget, these states are in one zone where you have hundreds of thousands of new voters.
I'm pretty sure you want to go to the north now, but before that, let me quickly just update us on that information that we put out about the presidential candidate of the PDP that says the national chairman of INEC should instruct the coalition officers for yesterday's election to upload the results of the INEC on the INEC server immediately. Article says that this has become necessary to checkmate some governors who are trying to compromise the results at the local government coalition level. It will be a disservice to Nigerians and a negation to democracy, he says, for anyone to subvert the will of the people as freely expressed in their votes of yesterday. He called on Nigerians to be calm but vigilant to ensure that anti-democratic elements who are masquerading as progressives do not steal their mandate and in what is already turning out to be a nail-biting race in the 2023 Nigerian presidential elections. Early results from polling units and exit polls indicate that Atiku Abubakar is projected to become the first candidate to meet the mandatory 25% requirement of votes cast in at least 24 states. According to the latest projections, Atiku is also set to exceed expectations in at least 10 states where he is projected to garner over 40% of the votes cast. Meanwhile, the PDP presidential campaign has expressed gratitude to the Nigerian people for their support so far and pledged to continue to work hard to earn their trust and confidence. We are humbled, he says, and honored by the early projections which indicate that the Nigerian people have seen in Atiku Abubakar the kind of leader that they want to lead them into a brighter future. While it is still too early to predict the final outcome of the elections, Atiku Abubakar's early success has certainly put him in a strong position as the race enters its final stages. From the current figures that are available, Atiku is winning in many states and in the 6 geopolitical zones except Lagos and Kano. We urge our members and party agents to remain steadfast and watchful. That message is signed by the media advisor to the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, just today. Well, that's that for now, and I guess more of that we'll hear as events unfold. And don't forget, that's exactly what has been said by the presidential candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who says the INEC chairman should immediately instruct the coalition officers for yesterday's election to upload the results to the INEC server immediately. Let's go now to the north.
Yes, to the north, but you remember what I told you earlier, Ayo. The only thing that is scarcer than the new Naira notes in Nigeria today.
Yeah.
Election results.
Which is what the PDP presidential candidate is speaking to right now.
That's what he's speaking to. But what we need to speak to right now is that zone that has the most number of collected cards. That zone that has the highest number of first-time voters, the Northwest. 21 million persons have PVCs. 3.2 million of them will be voting for the first time. So let's take a look at Kano. Kano, 44 local governments, 5.5 million PVCs.
Almost 5.6 million.
11,212 polling units. The zone that will control this result in Kano, Kano Central.
Wow.
Kano Central. What happened in Kano Central in 2011? The CPC won. Candidate Buhari was the man on the CPC, 1.6 million votes. What happened in Kano in 2015? The APC. Not only one, across all local governments. What happened in 2019? Across all local governments. This time, candidate Buhari, President Buhari, is not on the ballot. What will happen in Kano? Let's look at Kaduna. Kaduna, 4.1 million PVCs across 8,004 polling units. The numbers we're expecting from Kaduna are important across all zones, but the big zones in Kaduna, Kaduna Central. That is the big place. We are seeing Kaduna, we see Biring in Kaduna Central, Kaduna North, Kaduna South. But what happened in Kaduna in 2011? Again, candidate Buhari was on the ballots. CPC, 1.3 million votes. What happened in Kaduna in 2015? APC, 1.1 million votes spread across these local governments. What happened in Kaduna Ayo in 2019? We see that. So in Kaduna, we've seen over the years a lot of fight between Kaduna North and Kaduna South. Kaduna South predominantly one party, Kaduna North another party. Again, we're looking at what will happen in Kaduna North, in Kaduna. Perhaps we should end with Katsina, the state of the president today. We say over Katsina, 3.4 million persons have collected their PVCs. They intend to use that across 6,640 polling units. The big numbers from Katsina will be expected from Katsina South, where we have 36% of those that have registered to vote and collected their PVCs, and Kaduna Central. What does history tell us about Katsina? 2011, candidate Buhari won not only in Katsina, won all the local governments. What happened in 2015? One party, all the local governments. What happened in 2019? One party, all the local governments. It's unclear what will happen in Katsina in this election. But in the final analysis, yesterday we looked at what happened in the Southeast in history. Today we've looked at the Southwest and some states in the Northwest. We still have the North Central. The North Central is important for two reasons, Ayo. The first is no one in Nigeria has become president in Nigeria without winning the North Central. The second reason is within those 6 states in the North Central, there lies one state. That state has always gotten it right with who becomes Nigeria's president. In other words, since we've started this presidential election, there's one state in the North Central that whoever wins that state, based on history, always becomes president. We've got to go.
I knew you. I'm not so sorry. Ladi and Millicent, I told you that this guy, he's going to hang us one more time. I knew he was going to hang us one more time. But from what I think I'll give you an extra 5 minutes to try to, let me see if you will even, let's go to the North Central.
Okay, let's go to the North Central. Let's start with Kogi.
Okay, start talking about Kogi. Okay, there it is.
Kogi, important because Kogi is where you have most of the permanent voter card that have been collected. 1.8 million persons in Kogi have collected their PVCs. Most of them live in Kogi East, where you have Dekina, Omala, Ofu, Ankara, Olamboro. But let's look at the history of Kogi in terms of results.
2011?
2011. We saw a lot of fight between the PDP and the CPC. Eventually, the PDP won in 2011. Again, don't forget, Kogi is among those 6 states in the North Central today that has 14 million permanent voter cards. 14 million permanent voter cards, and 3 million of them are first-time PVC holders. So make no mistakes. Sometimes it's good to look at this history, but again, we're in an election where hundreds of thousands of first-time voters were expected to have come out. Did they come out? The results will tell us. Let's look at Kogi 2015. APC won. We see the state's APC won, we see the state's PDP won. 2019, again, APC won in Kogi, but they didn't win easily. Margin of vote, margin of lead are declined.
Well, Ladi will remind you what happened in 2007 and how close it was.
Yes, it was really close. Two key states we should also talk about in the North Central, Benue and Plateau. Let's take a look at Benue. We see that in Benue, 2.6 million Nigerians, those that live in Benue, have picked up their PVCs. A lot of those that have picked up their PVC in Benue live in the northern region of Benue, northwest Benue. That is where you have Makurdi, Guma, Taka, Gwe West, Gwe East, Boko. So from 6 p.m., once the results have been announced from Benue, we know that it is in Benue North that would influence who wins Benue, the results from Benue. But we want to look at history. 2011, Benue. We see that the PDP won all the local governments in Benue, apart from Boko. Clearly, the PDP scored the highest votes, only losing one local government to the ACN in 2011. What happened in Benue in 2015? We see the growth of the APC, picking more local governments and scoring the highest number of votes. What happened in Benue in 2019? We see that as well. But what happened overall was that the PDP was able to win in Benue. But this election is now different. Again, if we look at today's map of Benue, we see 2.6 million PVCs, Ayo, and thousands of these PVC holders are new first-time voters. So history tells us what has been happening in Benue, but for Benue, history is not about to tell us what happened yesterday. Let's look at Plateau.
What happened in Plateau State? We'll come to Niger, but what happened in Plateau State?
We want to see the trends. Benue, Plateau, we saw similar trends. 2.6 million PVCs on the ballots at the moment. Plateau North is where the votes are. 45% of those that register to vote and those that have collected their PVCs live in Plateau North. That is where you have Jos North, Jos South, Bassa. Key local governments. These are the local governments that would influence the results in Plateau State. But what happened in 2011? We see the green states that PDP won, the CPC second, won 3 local governments in 2011. In 2015, we see overall in Plateau, the PDP won, but APC picked those states in red. In 2019, we see the similar trends like in Benue.
I still maintain that question we kept referencing yesterday, which is that it would seem like for every successive election, the numbers seem to reduce.
And that is correct. What is happening is voters are turning out less, but more than voters turning out less, it's that the database is getting cleaner.
Okay.
The database is getting cleaner. The requirements to vote are getting tougher. In 2019, the requirement to vote included the incidence form in 2019. In 2023, you need to vote without an incidence form, which is your PVC qualifies you to vote. Not only your PVC, your thumbprint has to vote. But based on the feedback we've gotten, we've seen that another requirement, apart from the Beavers machine working and your PVC and either your thumbprint or your faceprint, a critical requirement that INEC didn't consider is, will their materials and officials even come to the polling unit? That is another requirement to vote. Because you can get to the voting, your polling unit with your PVC, and you meet no official. So the priority requirement to vote is INEC must turn up. INEC must turn out. We're all interested in the voter turnout, but 2023 is the year where the voters are asking. INEC for years has been talking about voter turnout. The voters are now asking, INEC, you also have to turn out.
Well, it's very, very interesting. I'm pretty sure that there is a lot more where that came from, Babajide Ogunsanwo. But one is just wondering exactly, as you said, questions arise as to where do we go from here? Ladi and Millicent, I think...
We were in the North Central. I thought you wanted me to get to that state where always predicts, but
actually, I'm very, very interested. You guys just hold your fire. I'm very, very interested. Where is that state? Please show me. I can't see it on the map.
Do we have time for it? Okay, let's go to another state in the North Central.
Another state or that state?
Let's go to another state in the North Central. Let's go to Niger State.
Hopefully,
we'll have time to get to that state.
Are you sure we have not passed that state? Okay, give us that state. Just this one Niger State. And then we'll move on. Otherwise...
Okay, let's look at what happened in Niger State in 2011. We see the CPC scoring majority of the votes in Niger State. We see PDP coming second by winning few local governments. In 2015, we see that had changed. The APC won not only in Niger State, won all the local governments in Niger.
Okay.
In 2019, the APC not only won Niger State, won all the local governments in Niger State.
Okay.
What do you think will happen in 2023? Again, Niger State, this time around, if you look at the 2023 figures from INEC, 2.6 million voters, yes. However, thousands of these voters are first-time voters. When the results start coming out from INEC officially, we're interested in the numbers that will come from the eastern zone of Niger State, because that is where the people live, that is where the people register to vote, and that is where the voters' cards reside. Let's go to another state in the North Central.
Which is?
Which is Nasarawa.
Okay.
Nasarawa, 1.8 million persons have picked up their PVCs. Majority of those in Nasarawa live in Nasarawa West. That is where you have Kefi, Karu, Kokona. Let's look at the history of Nasarawa State in 2011. You see, in 2011, the party that won, the CPC coming second by winning 2 local governments. What happened in 2015? We see a lot of war between the dominant parties then, the PDP and the APC. The PDP managing to win with less than 40,000 votes. We see that spread across all the zones in Nasarawa State.
Yeah.
But what happened in 2019? Again, a lot of fight between the APC and the PDP.
Clearly, there's been an overtake.
Yes, an overtake. The APC was able to win in Nasarawa State by less than 10,000 votes. Today in Nasarawa, how many PVCs do we have? 1.8 million. These trends are important, but not forget, there are thousands of those that have just recently picked up their PVCs. Nasarawa State belongs to that region where you have how many PVCs? 15 million persons with PVCs. 3 million of them in that region, first-time voters. Right now, in the North Central, it leaves us with only one state.
Which is?
I wouldn't do that analysis, but I'll tell you the states. Kwara State. In the history of Nigeria, whoever wins Kwara has always been declared president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Not once has Kwara failed to deliver on its promise. Whoever wins Kwara State, based on history, has always been declared president. We'll find out what will happen in Kwara as the result starts coming out by 6 p.m.
Very interesting that you go there, because, I mean, many people will be very shocked. I don't know, Ladi, and Millicent, it's time for you guys to. Yes, you guys have to come in now.
I made it easy for you this time around.
Well, yes, but you did, even though you didn't show us the figures, but I'll let that slide. So now we know.
We know.
I thought it was Lagos or Kano.
Can I make a confession?
Please.
He did know.
I did know.
Yes. I looked at his facial
So you
expressions.
guys had this crystal ball hidden away from us.
Well, I knew that he knew, but he wasn't going to say.
So
And
you didn't know.
I didn't expect him to say at this time. But
Millicent,
then,
I also need to tell you, what's the probability that Quara and this trend will continue? I'll keep that to myself.
Yeah, because he mentioned something earlier where he said, oh, 2 pieces of history will be made. One or the other. Is either the trend continues
Or the trend is broken.
Is broken. So from that angle, I guess.
That answer, I'll tell you later.
Oh, Christ.
Another.
He's leaving us with another.
But
Another
tomorrow.
cliffhanger. So he hung one, or rather he resolved 2.
2 and then left 1 hanging.
Keeps another one. Well, that is up to
We keep that going. Thank you, Babajide Ogusawa, as always. The numbers, the patterns, clarity, very, very important. Well, guys, it's time to toss it